Leaders of the G7 condemn Russia's missile strike on a shopping centre in the Ukrainian city of Kremenchuk, describing it as a war crime as at least 18 people died.
Well, our correspondent Joe Inwood is in Kyiv for us this morning. And Joe, this attack really does feel like a message from Putin that nobody in Ukraine is safe. How have people there responded to what happened?
With shock, with horror. You see the scenes that have come from the hospital where the wounded have been taken. People describe it being like hell on earth. Some of the descriptions that we've had from the survivors of this attack have talked of an inferno. They've talked of people being unconscious and dragged from the wreckage, splinters flying over. Really a disturbing picture is emerging as to what it was like. Now the death toll is already well over 10 people. President Zelensky last night said he thought 1,000 people were inside. Now it's not been possible to verify that, but certainly you see the pictures from Nick there, and it seems unlikely anyone would have survived that inferno. The Ukrainians have called for a meeting of the United Nations Security Council, which will take place later today. They've described this as a brazen terrorist attack, a continuation of Russia's attack, not just on this country, but on its people. And those people are continuing to suffer as a consequence.
Joe, thank you.
Well, the leaders of the world's richest nations were meeting at the G7 summit in Germany when that attack took place in Ukraine. They issued a joint statement describing it as abominable. Let's speak to our correspondent Jenny Hill, who's in Germany covering the summit for us. And Jenny, it'll be interesting to see what effect that awful news from Ukraine is going to have on the summit itself.
Yeah, it's certainly going to cast a sombre shadow over the final day of talks here in Bavaria. As you say, the leaders released that strongly worded statement last night saying that Vladimir Putin and those responsible for the strike will be held to account. It's not clear, of course, exactly how that would work out in reality. But, you know, those leaders came here to this beautiful mountain area with the strong sense that they wanted to send a message not only to Ukraine, to the world, but to Vladimir Putin, that they were united in their support for President Zelensky and his country. And in that, I think they have at least succeeded. They released a very strongly worded statement yesterday talking about the fact that they will stay with Ukraine until the end, that they will continue to support it financially and militarily. Now, we don't really know how that's going to translate into reality at this stage. You can expect, I think, to see a lot of money flowing into Ukraine from these leaders. In terms of military support, well, they've pledged to send more weapons, more equipment to train troops and so on. We don't know what that will mean in practical terms at this stage, but of course many of these leaders are going to go on to a NATO summit which starts tomorrow in Madrid. We might find a little more clarity coming out of that. So I suppose we're left really with a couple of questions. How is this support going to actually look in real terms? But secondly, these leaders, I think, particularly when it comes to imposing new sanctions on Vladimir Putin, which one of the things that they've been discussing here, how is that going to actually affect the reality on the ground? Can they force Vladimir Putin to, as they've demanded, withdraw his troops immediately and unconditionally? And, you know, given the Russian leaders' intransigence to date, that seems at this stage extremely unlikely.